What is up, you beautiful people? This is Gary Horne, and this is pro wrestling. This is the NWA. Sorry, hold on 1 second. I gotta fix this. I had the YouTube video going at the same time as the StreamYard.
Just roll with it, baby.
And it was like that kick drum was like it was just like getting it, man. What's up, everybody? This is Gary Horne. This is the NWA. It's the show celebrating the past, present, future, history, legacy, and tradition of the greatest pro wrestling entity of all time. We're talking about the National Wrestling Alliance, of course. And I am joined, as always, with my... Yes, we are. But I'm joined, as always, by my hetero life mates. This is Wil Martin. Hello, Will.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Great episode of PowerrrSurge tonight. We're trucking along. Happy to talk about it. Let's go.
And the Dr. Rob Stinson. Hey, Doc.
Happy day 927, my brothers.
There it is. Now you know. Now you know. If you had any curiosity about what day it was on, always count on Rob Stinson. If you checked out WrestleZone.com today, you saw an article or an interview of the WrestleZone podcast, or just right there in the article feed from Nickaldous himself, the champ. And he references this very show. Thank you very much. But also by name, he does mention the Dr. Rob Stinson as being the record keeper. So congrats, Doc.
Thank you.
Yeah.
If you want to say anything, now's the
time. Well, anyway, we just had a power surge. Now you want to jump.
I didn't want to say.
No.
I want to say I like that is a great interview with Bill Pritchard, I guess, from WrestleZone. That's what it was. And Nick makes the point about he makes the point in this about the champ makes the point about the criticism about COVID-19, this and that. And he was gracious to say, look, I'm not the one who brings it up, which he's not. And that's a point that we often make. He's never brought it up. We're the ones who bring it up, just so you know. But as the facts lie, it is day 927 of this historic championship reign.
Doc, I'm going to have to ask you to just hold off and save all of that energy that you typically have for defending Nickaldous for the end of the recap of the show, because you're going to need it then. And
was anything I said controversial there?
I'm just saying, you're just going out of your way to kiss butt right now when you could be saving up that goodwill for later. Is all I'm trying to point out.
I don't think Rob has to save it up. I think it's like 24/7. He's got a sufficient supply of it. So
just naturally, just like it comes through his pores. Just the love for Nickaldous. It's beautiful, really. You're radiant out here in space.
It's a recognition. It's a recognition of history, accomplishment, and excellence. That's all it is. It's the life I live every day. So it's not kissing butt. It's just a recognition.
It's just weird. We're out here amongst.
It's a refined taste.
We're out here amongst all these stars right now. But last week when Nickaldous joined us on the show, you were the brightest star in this sky. So you just glowed, just radiant. Anyway, so let's talk about this show, the PowerrrSurge. It's probably time for a little bit of a break. I know it seems kind of soon, but we had a big epic outcome last week with the 6-man tag. Arguably, I think I heard a lot of people say the best episode of NWA Powerrr so far since the return last week. And the 6-man at the end, splitting up the tag team champions, Strictly Business in there. You had Tim Storm in there. Sal Renaro was hanging out at ringside. And, of course, Trevor Murdoch trying to keep his position or win an opportunity for the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship. Unfortunately, it did not work out well for him, and we got to a 30-day suspension for Trevor Murdoch. Nonetheless, he will appear on this show in an interview portion. But before we get there, we'll talk about May Valentine and Joe Galli. May Valentine, lovely as ever. And Joe Galli, suit game strong today. He's just looking fly. giving the champ a run for his money, one might say. So they might say.
Triggering Rob early. You're triggering him early.
Nah, man, I call a spade a spade. I call a spade a spade, man. Joe Galli's always looking fresh. I don't always agree with his line of questioning and the way that he likes to poke and prod, but the man looks good. I can't deny that.
Good. Glad we're already on the same page. This is nice. I like this. I like the agreeable Dr. Rob. So first up, May and Joe, welcome. Yeah, I will, especially as we go along here. But Thunder Rosa is out with May and Joe, and she talks a little bit about the last year and being proud of what she's accomplished. She does mention that Kamille is a coward. They ask if she thinks that Kamille will give her another shot. She says she doesn't think so. Or she says she should, but she has been a coward lately. They also they talk about Mission Pro Wrestling a little bit. Nice to see that get some play on the air. Now, May does bring up the fact that you have another promotion. Are you being disloyal when you have multiple promotions going on? And Thunder Rosa straight up says, money is money. I follow the money. I do what I have to do. And everybody should understand that. And that's kind of what we get out of Thunder Rosa here. May intriguingly pressing Thunder a little bit, but just curious. Will, let's throw to you first. What do you think about this particular segment with Thunder Rosa?
Well, as you mentioned, May Valentine is becoming one of the most prolific wrestling journalists and interviewers that I've seen. I mean, she's asking the hard questions. She's not shying away. She's being direct, which is really cool. And that's been one of my favorite parts of PowerrrSurge, the 2 episodes we've had so far, is just her insightful questioning, asking the things that we as fans are typically wondering, but we think maybe it's off limits. I mean, she's going there. And so she does ask this question about, some people would say, and she doesn't say that she believed this, but some people would say, going to other promotions, that's being disloyal. And I could see both sides of it. As anyone who watches this show knows that we're huge Thunder Rosa fans, supporters of her, Mission Pro Wrestling, everything she's accomplished in the past year. So I definitely agree with and respect her opinion on that. The wrestling business is a business. You go where the money is. And, nobody can disrespect her for that or criticize her for that. But the fact does remain, as they talked about, there's still unfinished business with her and Kamille. And we saw that manifested last week in this not so peaceful summit that her and Kamille had with some mediators there. And so, that question, just same as last week, is still up in the air of is Kamille going to give her another shot? Obviously, Thunder's down for it. Thunder's not going to shy away from any competition. And so, I have to think we're on a collision course with them, rekindling some part of this feud, whether it's a match or they're just going to continue to be mouthing off at each other and interfering with each other's matches. But I'm ready to see, this continue and get some answers about all this.
Doc, we, in fact, were this past weekend in Austin, Texas. We went out to Buda, enjoyed the scenery, and we caught a Mission Pro Wrestling show ourselves. Thunder Rosa facing off with David LaGreca there, and we had a blast, man. And I'm just curious, it begs the question, how are you going to straddle this topic?
I mean, Warren, you're right. We had a great experience there, seeing a big time event at a really good promotion. Got to meet up with a lot of the hashtag NWA fam represented by the Nation Show and some others. DNC Digital. We don't normally do shout outs during this period, but they were so generous and hospitable. And it's so great to rekindle them, because many of those are people that we have been with in the GPB studio, which, as one of our great friends, Front Row, points out, has become one of the pilgrimages that people make in the world of wrestling. But I think you got 2 stories here, and as much as I hate to do it, but as often, so often I find myself doing it, I have to agree with Will here, man. I think there are 2 stories here. One is that one of the most compelling stories for all of us is the the journey of Thunder Rosa, her emergence from the shadows, from the graveyards of Tijuana to go on one of the most prolific runs as the NWA World's Women's Champion, that Destruction Tour, to the shocking loss to Serena Deeb, and now what's shaping up to be one of the most compelling conflicts in the world of wrestling right now, and that is between her and Kamille. So everything that Thunder said, I feel what she's saying. I get it. As a professional, as a competitor, I can't fault her for saying anything. She mentions Kamille and her interaction with Alex Gracia. And though I differ with her on her interpretation of that, I can see where she's coming from. She's personally invested and therefore can't be objective. The second story, and that's not a bad thing. I saw your gesture there, Will. I don't think objectivity is the be all end all. There's no such thing as brute fact. We're all biased. I'll be the first to tell you I'm biased here. The second story is I'm really, 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 and you know I've been a May Valentine fan for a long time, but I'm really digging her line of questioning the last several weeks, and particularly in this episode of PowerrrSurge. I mean, she goes straight after the elephant in the room every week. She asks the questions that we're all thinking, but we're like, wait a second, do we really want to go there? Guess what? May Valentine is going there. She's killing it. She asked that question about, is your loyalty compromised by doing, having your own dojo and your own promotion and this and that? And, she was frank. Thunder Rosa was frank. We can't expect anything less. But to me, again, the two stories of this segment are the ongoing drama between Thunder Rosa and Kamille. And I think all of us are looking for a major, major collision there coming up. Of course, we've got to throw Genocide in the mix. She may be the great disruptor there. We'll get to that later. The second story is got to throw props to May Valentine and her. I think for those of us who became acquainted with her during the initial episodes of Power in the previous seasons, some of us knew the journalistic side of this person, but now we're getting to see it come out, and she's really stepping into her natural environment and her natural condition, which is to sit down with the power makers and the story, the subject of the story, and to ask those pointed questions. And she's doing a great job. Good segment.
I couldn't agree more. This is very odd for me, but I'm happy that we're all just feeling this right now. PowerrrSurge, congratulations, NWA. You've brought us. The Trinity is together so far, and interested in your journalistic integrity there, Rob. That's your belief in that. That's going to be. I'm just speechless. I agree. May Valentine asking the questions and nobody complaining about it. That's nice. All right. Well, moving along, let's talk about Genocide. You mentioned her previously. I see it in the chat as we speak. Genocide may be on the rise. People feel it. Genocide. She unfortunately. I think her only big loss was against Kamille, right? Or wait, is that right? I can't remember. But yeah. And anyway, Genocide is a beast. She is perhaps a robot. And that's not been confirmed for certain, but that is the rumor. And she looked like it here against Skye Blue. Now, don't take anything away from Skye Blue. Skye Blue looking like $1 million. Took it right to Genocide. No fear in that woman, even though she was outsized and possibly outmatched. But unfortunately, her heart was big, but her body was not when it compared to Genocide, and she was completely demolished. And although a good match, and she lasted longer than I expected. No offense to Skye Blue. Genocide comes out on top here, 1, 2, 3 with the victory. Will, how'd you feel about that one?
It was a fantastic match, and as much as it pains me again, as it does you guys, Rob brings up a great point. When not to go back to the Thunder Rosa Kamille feud, but Genocide is one of Thunder's girls. I mean, they're close, and they've got a close knit relationship, and I mean, Genocide, in the couple of matches that she's been in NWA, and we've seen her even outside the NWA being dominant and just really showing the raw talent that she has as a professional wrestler. She could be a difference maker. I mean, somebody that, I mean, as you mentioned, the chat's blowing up with, people supporting Genocide. They love her. And she's really making a name for herself in the NWA. So she's one to keep an eye on, and this match really drove that home, I think, for me and for the rest of us. It was a hard-fought match. Again, like you said, props to Skye Blue. She showed up and put up a good fight, but Genocide is just not someone to toy with, and she showed that in this match tonight. So it'll be interesting to see, if she becomes entangled in this, Kamille Thunder Rosa feud, if this starts to grow beyond just, the two of them, as it did last week when we had Melina on there. And so I think that there's a lot of intrigue from me in this. And so seeing Genocide with the win tonight really just fueled that a little bit more for me.
Interesting. Rob, I'm curious, how'd you feel about this match?
Man, this was a compelling match because I was kind of thinking, man, are we going to see Skye Blue, the Giant Killer, come out? Skye Blue, someone that I'm also really into right now. I think she's one of the prodigies in women's wrestling. She's just a baby, and she's petite, but she's highly skilled. Takes the sport very seriously. But for me, this was a mathematical equation. There was no doubt in my mind how this would end up, and the point in case on that was Genocide Skye Blue going up to the third rope and trying to come down, and virtually Genocide catching her in midstream, and at that point it was over. This was the Titanic meeting the iceberg, it was a mathematical certainty how this is going to end. I believe right now, where I stand right now, I think as far as the women's division goes, and things can happen, things change. Again, I'm not privy to any inside information. I'm just a fan like everybody else is. But as things have played out, I see this shaping up to be a 4 women's contest, maybe a 5 women's contest for that berth. If you take Serena Deeb out of the equation, the ones to me that are really rising to the top to become major question marks in this equation are going to be obviously Kamille. She's right there at the top with that number 1 contendership. Thunder Rosa for sure. Mera. You got Genocide. You got Melina, because I think all of us have to think that Melina's, she's tasted that before. You got to think that at some point, that fire in her is going to want to project her back into the discussion. And then Taryn Terrell. We saw a brief mention of her at the opening of PowerrrSurge tonight, but I think it remains to be seen how she factors into this too. But right now you got a really vibrant women's division, one of the best women's divisions shaping up anywhere. And I'm not blind to what's going on in the other promotions. But if you compare what's going on there to here, you got to say that ours is at least comparable. If not, when you throw in someone like Kamille, Thunder Rosa, Serena Deeb, Taryn Terrell into the mix, you got to feel like the cream is rising to the top here.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's hard to doubt. I mean, I guess this might be a good time to show those rankings there. We can bring them up here. I saw you guys put together the power rankings before we go on the air. And so there they are for anybody who was looking for them. We might as well just mention them now since you were just running through it. Alex Gracia at number 5, Genocide, Thunder Rosa, Kamille as the number 1 contender, and of course Serena Deeb sitting pretty up top. So very, very cool. Yeah, I can't say it just feels like Kamille looks pretty dominant in this ranking right now, but Mera keeps herself in the picture at all times. So it's interesting. Just I'm curious how they work this one out.
Something I wanted to refer back to. Can you throw that back up there, Will? Some obvious names absent from this ranking. One is Skye Blue, who we saw today, and she could easily, with some more time, more experience, crack that top 5. Alex Cross is in there. We're not seeing Taryn Terrell in there because we've not seen her in in-ring action. But I wanted to point out these rankings are based off of the reboot. Not if you want to call it a reboot. I don't really like saying that because it's not like the NWA ended during the pandemic. But this is based off of a ranking since back for the attack. And so you're not going to see, the destruction tour. Totally. You're not going to see anything from the first couple of seasons of Power. Obviously, Serena Deeb is sitting at 0-0, and that is from back for the attack on. And these are unofficial rankings. These are just us being fans, just us reading the landscape as it sits right now. But I did want to point out one thing that emerged during Thunder Rosa's interview with May Valentine, and that may be a factor later on, is that Thunder Rosa said something that really stuck with me. And she said, when I get upset, I start talking really fast. Or when you hear me talking really fast, I'm getting really, and that's like, to me, that's like she's showing some of the same symptoms of letting the intensity and the emotion get ahead of the prize that I'm seeing from Trevor Murdoch. And I know we're going to get into that later, but I just wanted to point that out. As you threw that up there, it just hit me, Wil. That comment that Thunder Rosa made was a very psychologically telling comment. And I'm no psychologist. I'm just a parent and an educator, but it looks to me that when you're saying that, look, when I get intense, I start speaking fast, what you're telling me is that you might not have the control over your faculties that you think you might. But guess who always has control over their faculties? Kamille. When have we ever seen Kamille flustered? That's my question.
Well, it's an excellent point, Doc. And as we're live on the air right now, the action in the NWA world is always going. And Thunder Rosa's already hit Twitter. And somebody, the NWA Twitter account, tweeting out about her comments today. And talking about Kamille thinks she's the head honcho here, but she's a coward. Block out Doc for a second while you guys check. Wait, where's it at? This out. Thunder Rosa says, yes, I said it and I say it again. She thinks she is the head honcho and she doesn't have the ovarios to do half of what I do and represent the NWA the way I have. I might be smaller than her, but I don't ever back down. That's from Thunder Rosa just a few minutes ago on Twitter. So there you go, calling out the ovarios. So that feud is not getting less intense, I guess is the way I would put that. Anyway. All right. So next up, we got some highlights of the past goings-ons with the TV title and the world title picture. And May Valentine is sitting down with Trevor Murdoch. Now, this is a pretty nice sit down with Trevor. It seems like Trevor's still confident he's going to get a shot at the NWA World Heavyweight Championship down the line. But, you get to hear him talk a little bit about Harley and how much that world title means and that sort of thing. I just all in all, Doc, I thought this was a really good interview. Just a sit down with Trevor and a calm interview. To your earlier points, I think. And it was nice to see him express himself in that way. And also just to give, I always like the layering of prestige on the 10 pounds of gold, just to show some appreciation for that as well.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. This is, if you've heard me in my past weeks when we've talked about Trevor Murdoch, my criticisms of him have not been personal in nature. I have always said, as I always will say, that I respect this wrestler. This is a man who was trained by Harley Race, who it comes from the highest pedigree. He has every ability in the world. My frustrations as a fan has been to see what seems to be just plain to see. It's that you're letting emotions get in the way of things, and that's not the Trevor Murdoch we saw in this interview. We saw a more circumspect Trevor Murdoch. We saw one who was more thoughtful. We saw one who understood the place of the championship in the history of the one true sport. And I'm talking about pro wrestling. If you see that Trevor Murdoch day after day, if you see him when he's around Chris Adonis or Tom Latimer or Nickaldous, if you see that composed Trevor Murdoch, then we got a different scenario on our hands, guys. We have a whole different scenario on our hands. My question is it possible to see that Trevor Murdoch when it gets hot in the kitchen?
Wil?
I think to answer your question, yeah, it is possible. And I'm not going to dispute anything you have said or anything you've said in the past weeks. I mean, I think we, despite the difference in opinions on the way we want things to work out in this situation, I think we could all agree that it would have been beneficial for this version of Trevor Murdoch to be the same one that we have seen on the last few episodes of Power. I think we might be having a different conversation right now. We might be talking about the upcoming Trevor Murdoch Nickaldous world title match. But it didn't play out that way. And you're right, he let his emotions get the best of him. But I think what this interview did, at least for me, was it did remind me that, ultimately Trevor Murdoch is a grounded, well-trained, well-respected, qualified professional wrestler. And he's somebody that if he's in that position, in my opinion, I think he deserves it. Now, despite everything that's gone down the past few weeks, I mean, this is a man that, a lot of things he said resonated with me personally. I mean, I've got 2 boys as well. So, him talking about being a father and all of that, I mean, that makes sense to me. And he wants to reach that level. But I think you're right. I think if he can channel what he was thinking and his demeanor in this interview, then I think the sky's the limit for him, and I think that he can reach that pinnacle that he wants to so badly. But yeah, it was a great sit down, and again, a great reminder of who Trevor Murdoch really is. A great reminder of the fact that the 10 pounds of gold that Nickaldous currently holds is the most prestigious prize in all of professional wrestling. Doesn't matter where you are, who you work for, who you're talking to. That's the prize everyone wants, and Nickaldous has it, and that's why there's such a big target on his back. And that, potentially is why Trevor Murdoch has been able to be, taken to his limit emotionally over the past few weeks. And so I thought it was great to see Trevor in this scenario. And again, props to May Valentine. She led another great interview, so don't gloss over that in the midst of all this. But I'm with you. I'm ready for Trevor Murdoch to take the next 30 days, channel that version of himself, and show up with that demeanor, the confidence, knowing that he's trained by Harley Race, one of the greatest ever. And so there's no reason for him not to be confident in any scenario, no matter how much somebody, pokes at his emotions or tries to get under his skin. And so my hope is that he can channel that over the next 30 days. And when we see Trevor Murdoch again in an NWA ring, that's the version of him that we see.
Yeah, it's interesting you point that out, Will. I think one of the things I got from this interview is that cool, calm demeanor from Trevor Murdoch is the reverence he shows that World Heavyweight Championship. It kind of is a testament to me that when the day comes that he gets Nickaldous in the ring for that championship, there will be a very serious, determined Trevor Murdoch, more so than the angry and fiery version that we've been seeing lately. I think he'll be able to channel his temper into something more constructive, and Nickaldous better be on the lookout for that when it happens. This is a good point, Doc. I knew you had something to say. Go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to point out that Nickaldous is on the lookout. He stays on the lookout. It's not like, you don't just get to wake up and think and suddenly become reserved and refined and introspective, and now you get to be the best in the world. That's how Nickaldous always is. He's always circumspect.
I was saying that it's like another side of Trevor Murdoch, that we're seeing that he can also do that. Maybe this version of what we've been seeing is just a version up until he gets Nickaldous one-on-one in the ring.
Right, but then you said, Nickaldous better be on the lookout, as though like Nickaldous is just out there like eating silly straws and gummy bears, and like he's not intense and aware, and like he didn't watch that interview. Like he's
I'm
not
going
aware.
to tell you what
I'm
I've seen him do. I'm just telling you that he's very much been a man who's been toying with that version of Trevor Murdoch and counting on that version of Trevor Murdoch. And I'm saying that's not going to be the version of Trevor Murdoch that he steps in the ring with if Trevor Murdoch gets the World's Heavyweight Championship match.
Well, I have not seen Nickaldous toy with anybody. I've seen Nickaldous take a perspective of the landscape and do what any ring general or chess player does. What is it? Well, I know we're going to get into the Nickaldous interview later, so I'm not gonna drop a line on that fantastic oratory we heard later. But I think what you're trying again is you're trying to get into a little subtle little shots like I like to do week after week, Gary. You're doing it, and I hear you. I hear you, bro.
All right, we're gonna continue on, but this is a great point to segue, if we can, just to remind you all, if you're not following us over at youtube.com/thisisprowrestling, we have our own YouTube channel over there. We'd love it if you went over there and just real quick hit subscribe. We promise we'll have some great content coming over there. We're also available wherever podcasts are. It's This Is Pro Wrestling on the social media. We're at TIPW Show. You can see all of that stuff down there on that little banner going around. I don't want to spend all day telling you about it, but we'd appreciate it. We're grateful for everybody who watches us here on the post show, and we'd love it if you joined us at those places as well. We on the podcast right now have a great historical deep dive going on. We're digging into the past of pro wrestling history. And the way I was going to segue that immediately is today is, according to Brian Solomon here, May 4th is a Star Wars Day. That's because it's George Hackenschmidt Day, commemorating when he became pro wrestling's first widely recognized world heavyweight champion in 1905. May the hack be with you. And so George Hackenschmidt, we've got a whole episode about his great rivalry with Frank Gotch. You should definitely check that out. And you'll hear Doc even trace the lineal World's Heavyweight Championship that Nickaldous is holding right now, all the way back to 1905 with George Hackenschmidt. So it's pretty entertaining stuff.
Right.
So hopefully you'll come over.
We actually recognize this. We actually recognize this event tomorrow on our This Is Pro Wrestling TikTok channel, because that news did not make the circuit until the 5th of May, when it hit the newspapers that had happened. In Madison Square Garden, the great Tom Jenkins, George Hackenschmidt title match that solidified the first World Championship recognized in America and becomes really the predecessor to the lineal title. However, I will say that we trace it even further back. We trace it back to the 1860s. So, but this is the first time that we have someone being recognized as a world champion. And this is, I would make the case that this is the very championship that the National Treasure currently holds. So it's a great day in wrestling history. I'm glad you brought that up, Gary.
Yeah, no problem. Just happy to always represent and recognize the NWA and what it means to pro wrestling history. And yes, even Nickaldous and his place in history at 900 and something odd days, wherever he's at there.
927. Well, on that point, when the sun rose today, he surpassed the longest reign of the great Harley Race. Harley Race's longest title reign was 926 days. And so, like I said, every day that the champ wakes up, he makes history with that belt. He makes history.
That's pretty impressive, actually. Just the man who endorsed Nickaldous as the NWA World's Heavyweight Champion, and also the man who trained Trevor Murdoch. Very, very interesting tidbit. You can only get that here, people. You can only get that kind of information here, or the internet, Google, but mainly here. We're like Google with beards. That's what we do. So
that's our tagline now. That's our bio.
Will, did you see that the Power Star of the Power Star of the week? I always said the Power Star Superstar. That'd be too much super and star, all of that. It's the Power Star of the week, and that is Aaron Stevens, one half of the tag team champions. Just curious at this point in history, how do you feel about those tag team titles? What's going on? Aaron Stevens, Kratos, any of that? Just any thoughts on the top of your head there?
Well, now it feels like you're baiting me a little bit, because you know how I feel about it. I am a huge advocate of tag team wrestling, and particularly the NWA World Tag Team Championships. I think they're the same way that the 10 pounds of gold is the pinnacle of singles pro wrestlers. The NWA tag titles are that for a tag team. And I love tag team wrestling, and I love when tag team wrestling is done well. And, you know, as much as I want to see, you know, these guys on the same page, you can't deny this evolution of Aaron Stevens that's happening. And you can't hate it at the same time. I mean, and Rob may disagree with me here, but it seems like, you know, this iteration of Aaron Stevens seems to be, I don't want to necessarily say growing a conscience, but he seems to be developing some kind of moral compass that is driving a wedge between him and Kratos. And, you know, as I've said in weeks previous, you know, they got to get on the same page if they want to keep those tag belts. Cause that's, you know, those championships are not something you just hang on to because you want to. Tag team wrestling is an art form. It is hard work. It takes teamwork. That's why it's tag team, if you didn't know that. So that's what they're going to have to become, a team again, the same way that they did when they won those titles. And, you know, that's to be seen at this point. So that's where I stand on it.
Well, Rob, do you feel like they can be a team, especially in light of some of the big news we've got coming up in this next segment here on NWA PowerrrSurge?
Oh, certainly. I mean, I think that we've yet to really sit down and listen to what Aaron Stevens or Kratos has to say about this to get their insight. I think, as I've said on previous episodes, and I think anybody who in the history of the world who's ever had kids, who's ever had a spouse, or who's ever had best buds will tell you that the very best relationships in life are difficult and strained from time to time. And so I think you see some of that playing out right now. I mean, I think when it comes to the championship, I don't see anything yet that leads me to believe that Aaron Stevens and Kratos aren't on the same page as far as maintaining that. You know, I think that the NWA tag team picture is very much in flux right now. And so there remains to be seen a lot of other things on the horizon. And that gets clarified up a little bit more tonight later on. But, you know, I would like to hear what Aaron Stevens and Kratos have to say, because, you know, I see two intense competitors. I see two professionals, and I see two people who understand the value of championship gold. So I don't see any reason why these two can't set aside whatever personal strain there might be in a relationship to make sure that those straps stay around their waist for a long, long time.
Very well said. And so that's how we start off the next segment, actually, is talking a bit about this. Nickaldous, the real world's heavyweight champion, joins Joe Galli and May Valentine for the final segment on PowerrrSurge. He is there to talk with them. They discuss Aaron Stevens a little bit and last week and that sort of thing. They actually questioned Kratos joining with Strictly Business last week as well, and questioning whether or not that was Aldis's decision, and Aldis asking May coming in with those questions, by the way, and Aldis saying, well, you don't think Latimer is capable of making his own decisions? That was strictly Tom Latimer there. He was making the call. But they do mention that despite everything, no matter what, Latimer and Adonis have been announced as the number one contenders for the tag team championship. And I don't like to pat ourselves on the back here too much, but if we could huck our own horn, toot toot, this is a little pun with my name. There's the rankings that you guys put together last week. And you'll see there, right underneath the champs, Stephen the Kratos, you have Adonis and Latimer. So although these three are the unofficial NWA Power rankings, it looks as though we were pretty dead on. Mims and Boogie coming up right there. Sal and Tim Storm right behind them. Perro and Odinson. Rob, did you have anything you wanted to add about this portion of that discussion and the news that came out?
No, I mean, you're right. We were dead on. And although these rankings aren't typically, I mean, they're not official rankings. They're just our rankings. We are usually dead on. Usually my analysis in particular is dead on. And when it comes to any topic wrestling related, And this is not rocket science. This is just, again, looking at the lay of the land, respecting the quality of work that we've seen in the ring, judging as connoisseurs of the sport. You and I and Wil, the three of us, we don't go in there and mix it up in the ring, but we're students of the sport, and we can spot excellence when we see it. And for good or ill, what we have seen between Adonis and Latimer is what they like to, and I hate to use cliches, but it's just synergistic. It's almost sorcery. They gel so naturally, almost like Adonis was meant to be in the acquaintance of strictly business. And so far, I'm really liking this association, and our analysis has been straight on to this point, and I'm glad to see that the NWA has recognized it. Hope maybe we had a little influence there.
Wil, you feeling pretty good about that analysis that number one contenders are Tom Latimer and Chris Adonis?
Yeah, and I mean, when it comes to tag team wrestling, just to show that I'm also not biased myself. I think Adonis and Tom Latimer make a fantastic tag team. They work well together, and I agree. The reason that we have them at number 2 isn't, like Rob said, it's not scientific. It's not just based on their record because they've won. It's because the way they did win, and that was through synergistic chemistry and being on the same page. And you're right, Rob. Again, I mean, this is a landmark episode where there's a lot of acknowledging that Rob is right. But yeah, they work well together, and that's what a tag team should be. And so that's where I'm coming from when I start talking about the current champs, Kratos and Stevens. Do they currently still have that same type of synergy? Because they're going to go head to head in the ring now, we know, with Adonis and Latimer. And if they don't bring that same type of chemistry, that same level of being on the same page, then those titles are seriously in jeopardy.
Yeah, well said. That Tom Latimer and Chris Adonis, you've got to be bringing your A game if you're going to go up against those two guys. They are top of the food chain in the NWA right now. With the national championship already on board, Chris Adonis is on fire right now, and Tom Latimer is always a hoss and a member of perhaps one of the greatest factions of all time, right? So there you go. Look at that. See what I did there, Rob? Let's talk about that faction though for a second. Nickaldous, the real world heavyweight champion. His words, not mine. The all-seeing eye. He is interested in a match. May questioning him here, and Gally to give him credit, but it's nice to see Gally not have to take all the heat all the time this time. Questioning Aldis and who he wants to face now. Trevor's out of the picture, right? So I mean, what's he going to do? He says he's interested in facing anybody who's qualified to take him on, and Gally gets very happy and says, "Well, I'm glad you said that because we're going to find out who's qualified." I've got some notification here that the NWA is announcing there is a battle royal taking place in 3 weeks, and the winner of that battle royal will be the number one contender for the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship. They'll get their shot. He did note no champions are in this battle royal, so that takes out your Chris Adonis, that takes out Aaron Stevens and Kratos and the Pope. For right now. So we're going to see somebody else enter the title picture, which is going to be very interesting. And all this, although the all-seeing eye does not seem to know anything about this, it gets very, very angry. Nay, calls it subterfuge. Subterfuge. However you want to say it. But anyway, Rob, your boy got flustered. It's weird seeing that from Nickaldous. Do you think he was caught off guard in this scenario?
There are so many thoughts rolling around in my mind right now about this predicament that we find ourselves in, and I look at Joe Gally just sitting there gleefully asking this question, being in the know when the all-seeing eye himself, the champ, the puppet master, has no clue about this going on. This is a man who's defended this championship valiantly for 927 days, who owes a responsibility to the fans to give the best contender a shot. And there are contenders in line, and those contenders are defined by title belts, right? Then suddenly we have nothing short of, I'm going to say it, collusion. This right here is collusion going on between somebody in the front office and somebody else.
So subterfuge indeed, Wil. It is collusion between somebody and somebody. Do you agree with the Doc's analysis here?
Well, for the first time tonight, I'm going to obviously disagree. I think collusion's a strong word.
We almost had a perfect show, man. We almost had a perfect show.
We almost did. We almost did, but don't blame me for ruining it. Collusion is a strong word. I think that, yes, I will say, like I've said before in previous weeks, Nickaldous is the champ, and certain rights and privileges come with being the champ. You've earned the spot at the top of the mountain. He said in previous weeks, he's the puppet master. He's the one pulling the strings around here. And there's no doubt in my mind the power that Nickaldous has because he carries the 10 pounds of gold. He is the real world's champion. There's no doubt about that. But this event right here proves that at the end of the day, the championship is made to be defended. And if Nick can't look around and find a suitable contender, and he can't, land on somebody that he, makes the choice to give a shot to, this shows that the NWA is going to do that for him. And that at the end of the day, that title is going to be defended, and it's going to be through a fair means, like a battle royal with a smattering of stars who are going to come in and they're going to compete, and whoever reigns victorious will get that title shot. So, I hate to disagree with you, Rob. I really do. But this is not collusion. This is competition. And that's exactly what's happening. And so we're going to have a definitive answer to who, out of the incredible talent that is part of the NWA right now, who deserves that title shot. And we're going to figure that out through a battle royal in 3 weeks.
Rosville in the chat pointing out Nickaldous is the dealer, but he is not the house. So loved that comment.
Good point.
Had to mention that.
No, he is the dealer, and he's not the house, but he's the cornerstone. And it's laughable to me that we're going to look at a battle royal as a chance to determine a worthy competitor. When you got a battle royal, you got all number of factors at play, and you may find you never know who might win that. Heck, I could win a battle royal if everything played into my favor. Does that
would
make
be
me
one of my
worthy
dream
of a
matches.
shot?
I would love to see
No,
that.
I'm just saying it is not the way the way you earn your way to the top of the pecking order is by getting victories under gentlemen's rules and claiming championship gold. That's the way you do it. Battle royal, I don't like it. This strikes me as this is a conspiracy. Somebody up there is the fix is in. I'm gonna tell you right now, the fix is in.
Just curious too, speaking to May Valentine and her journalistic integrity that we discussed earlier, everybody was on board that she was asking all the right questions, and very strong journalist on this episode. Power, how did you feel when Nick told her to shut up? Rob's your mic working?
Yeah. Oh, suddenly it went out. He's like, he can't hear. Yeah.
Looks like
we lost audio, I guess. That's convenient.
I think we've lost Rob.
I didn't hear the question. What was the question?
Yeah, you did.
May Valentine. Nick told her to shut up. Nope.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's a true.
You're not coming through, guys.
Pro.
We got a big storm coming through this area. I can't hear you, fellas.
All right.
I can lip read though. Go.
While we wait for Rob to come back, we'll jump into the chat here and see if you guys have anything you want to add before we wrap this episode up. Looking through, Craig S. is going back through all the episodes of Power. That's cool. If
Very
you guys
nice.
revisit them all. And Eric Dale wants to know, wait a minute, the number one contender has to win a battle royal. How long does the challenger get to prepare for the title? That's a good question. So, Rob, not only is Aldis going to be unprepared, this is going to be, this is 3 weeks out. I think the pay-per-view's announced for the 6th. So, even the challenger's not going to have much preparation. So, seems fair.
I think at this level, though, of competition, you're always prepared, or you should be always prepared. I know the champ's prepared for any contingency. I've seen this.
I was just trying to help you out with the excuses you were just making for him. That's all. I thought I was.
What are you talking about?
Hey,
no, the champ's prepared. It's not about preparedness. I think in a promotion like the NWA, ultimately you got a million guys that could be worthy contenders. I can think of 3 or 4 right off the top of my head right now. But is that the way you go about it? And I like the comment that Eric Dale made that comment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's an insightful comment. I'm not going to take issue with it.
He goes on to mention that it's just a week from the Battle Royal to the championship match. So Aldis is going to be walking in fresh as a daisy. And so Challenger's got an uphill battle against the champ there. It's always an uphill battle against Nickaldous, though, right?
Well, you got to factor in the intangibles, the fact that the weight of the world is on your shoulder at all times. But like I said, you look at all the great athletes in the history of the sport, the great prize fighters, they've got books and books and books on tape after tape after tape, film reel after film reel. They're studying. There's not a person on the NWA roster right now that Nickaldous hasn't studied. He's so good, he knows them better than they know themselves. And you can hashtag that. How many characters do we get on Twitter?
I'm happy to say that thankfully my headset went out here. My earbuds are out, so I'll let I couldn't hear any of what
Rob, you have 140 characters on Twitter, but I do think it's funny that you talk about the champ staying prepared. He just was not prepared for this announcement tonight, and that was obvious. That's the first time we've seen him flustered. He seemed to, for the first time in a long time, not know what was going on and not know what to expect. So we'll see.
That's cute, Will. That's cute. And the only way you can account for it is what I said earlier: collusion.
At least
subterfuge.
At least he called you.
Let me look that up. Where's my
at least he called you cute.
Well, he calls me cute a lot.
Yeah. John Goss says Doc is sweating bullets. If anything, a battle royal would squirt out a random competitor. Could be a worthy opponent. Could be nobody.
Might be Sauronaro. Not that Sal can't do it. Not that he can't put up a fight, but I'm gonna tell you, that is not the way to determine a contender.
Let's see. Everybody's hoping for. I see a lot of hope for. Polka Dot Pam says she loves Nick, but did not love the shut up. Roswell wondering if Golden Boy is going to be back. And Terry McDermott also hoping for some Golden Boy. Maybe in the Battle Royal, we'll see Jordan Clearwater. That'd be cool. He's winning some hearts this season, it looks like. All right. And people asking, let's see, what else we got? Jim Ellis asking any idea when they'll bring back live audiences at the tapings. No, sir. I'd say stay tuned. Probably hear something shortly. Terry McDermott says Nick found out today that Billy is the boss. And so, well, Rob, you just look, you're going to cry.
I'm good, man. That's just how my face. It's just how my face.
Yeah,
that's just how my face looks, man.
So downtrodden.
All right, guys. Well, we want to thank everybody for joining us in the chat today. We had a blast as always, and you got to tune in next week on Fight TV if you're not already subscribed. What are you waiting for? Go subscribe. You got to do it now. NWA Powerrr is coming back next week and is only getting better each and every week. And in 3 weeks, we got a battle royal. So you go ahead and subscribe now. You can be a part of that. You can see everything. It's going to be awesome. And we'll find out who that number one contender is and see all about the journey in the tag team division. Is anybody going to challenge Aldis or Adonis and Latimer for the number one contendership? I don't know. There's so much at stake here. What about the national title? Adonis just walking around with that thing. Somebody's got to be interested in it. And Pope with the TV title, he outlasted Tyrus. And so who's next for the Pope? He's on his way to that lucky 7. Aldis has got like a line of people just waiting to step up to him.
That's
for that
my
NWA.
point. Thank you. You have made my point. There are
Exactly. So let's get them all in a ring together.
opponents.
He's going to have a
And
longer line.
roll the dice.
In 3 weeks.
Let's roll the dice. Let's roll the dice. Play goldfish. Play Uno, and just let some random actor determine the contender.
That's a great idea, Doc. How about a
That is a
battle
good idea.
royal?
Yes.
I'm going to say
That's a great
No,
idea.
hold on. Now, you
possibly
using my
President
you
Corrigan
put a slant on what I
See,
President Corrigan
this is
took a cue from Dr. Stinson, and that's
a good idea.
you know what? I can't wait till we see Aldis
No,
again and tell him
cut
whose
this out.
idea this was.
cut the
It
camera.
was Doc Stinson with the idea for the
Yeah.
battle
Hey,
royal.
we've
That is
got
amazing.
no
Cut
proof.
the audio on this. Cut the audio on this.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We love you all. We're at TIPW Show on everything. Make sure you hit subscribe here. Make sure you follow the NWA on Twitter, Instagram, everywhere. And we'll see you next Tuesday night right after NWA Powerrr. But until then, you all enjoy